What's up, Lions Nation? Are you ready? Because the energy in Detroit has never been this electric. This team is in the spotlight, earning respect, grabbing headlines, and proving that it's no longer just a promise. It's the real deal. The entire city is breathing confidence, and I know you can feel that energy too. But before we jump into the first big news, make sure to smash that like button on this video. That helps us spread the roar of our fan base and make the Lions name even stronger. And here's my question for you. What grade would you give this incredible moment the Lions are living right now? For me, without a doubt, it's a straight-up 1,000. I've never been this hyped, and I'll say it loud and clear. Detroit Lions, I believe. A lot of people are already talking about the Super Bowl, and honestly, I don't doubt for a second that we can get there. But hold on to that excitement, because we'll dive into that later. Right now, let's get straight into the first big story. What if I told you that right now, behind the scenes, the Detroit Lions are being talked about in ways we haven't heard in years? Numbers, names, rumors, trades, and signings, everything is on the table. The team that for decades was an afterthought is suddenly making headlines, and it's not just because of what's happening on the field. The value of this franchise, the way analysts are talking about our young players, and even whispers of blockbuster trades are putting the Lions in conversations we're not used to being in. That alone should tell you how fast this team is rising, and why every fan needs to pay close attention to what's happening right now. Let's start with something that might surprise a lot of people: the Lions franchise valuation. According to recent reports, Detroit is sitting at $5.4 billion in worth, ranking 30th in the NFL. Only the New Orleans Saints at $5.3 billion and the Cincinnati Bengals at $5.25 billion are valued lower. At first glance, that sounds underwhelming. But here's the twist. The Lions' value shot up 30% in just 1 year. That's one of the biggest jumps in the entire league, behind only the Buffalo Bills at 42% and both the Rams and Giants at 38%. Think about that for a second. For decades, this team struggled. Now, as the wins come, as the brand gets hotter, and as fans show up in force, the franchise is skyrocketing in value. People want to be around a winning culture. Advertisers want in. And suddenly, the low-value Lions are trending in the right direction with no signs of slowing down. $5.7 billion isn't exactly something to laugh at. But it's not just about money. It's about the roster and the kind of players being developed in Detroit. Assistant GM Ray Agnew recently had some telling words about rookie Tyreek Williams.
A lot of people didn't think much about him at first, but Agnew made it clear. This kid might be far better as a pass rusher than people give him credit for. He can push the pocket with power, but he's also got surprising quickness. Right now, he's being thrown into action because Alim McNeill is dealing with an injury. That puts a lot of pressure on Williams early, but it also sets him up in a position to prove himself. And the comparisons to McNeill aren't small. Remember, McNeill himself was a third-round pick who developed into a force. If Williams can follow a similar path, the Lions may have quietly found another anchor on the defensive line. This is what makes Detroit dangerous. Winning starts in the trenches. Championships are built on defensive lines that can pressure quarterbacks and shut down the run. Big guys like Williams aren't flashy, but they're the backbone of title runs. If this coaching staff, which has already proven its ability to develop players, can unlock Williams' potential, we're looking at a player who could be far more than just depth. He could be a weapon. Now, let's turn to something that has Lions fans buzzing. Trade rumors. A proposal surfaced recently that had Detroit linked to Jacksonville Jaguars pass rusher Travon Walker. The deal? Detroit would receive Walker and a 2026 sixth-round pick. In return, the Jaguars would get Detroit's 2026 first-rounder, a fourth-rounder that same year, and a third-rounder in 2027 that could escalate into a second if Walker hit 10 sacks while the team made the conference title game. Sounds wild, right? On paper, it's tempting. Walker is a physical freak, 6 feet 5 inches, 272 pounds, with 31 solo tackles, 30 assists, 10.5 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles to his name. Pair him with Aiden Hutchinson, who was drafted in the same class, and you've got a nightmare duo for opposing quarterbacks. But here's the reality. Giving up that kind of draft capital might not make sense right now. Detroit has a first, second, fourth, fifth, 2 sixths, and 2 sevenths in this year's draft. That's a lot of ammo to build depth and trade strategically. Shipping away multiple premium picks for one player, even one as talented as Walker, doesn't align with how Brad Holmes has built this roster. At least, not yet, but don't rule it out completely. If the trade deadline rolls around and Detroit feels one more elite edge rusher is the missing piece, maybe the conversation heats back up. For now, it feels more like a fantasy than a reality. But man, imagine Walker and Hutchinson terrorizing offensive lines together. And we're not done. Free agency rumors are circling too. Safety Jabril Peppers was just released by the New England Patriots, and voices in Detroit Jock City are urging the Lions to make a move. Peppers has played in 99 games with 85 starts across stints with the Patriots, Browns, and Giants. He's logged 331 solo tackles, 35 passes defended, 7 interceptions with 1 return for a touchdown, 6 forced fumbles, and even 5.5 sacks. Oh, and his Pro Football Focus grades have been 75 or higher in each of the last 3 seasons. That's consistency. At 29 years old, 5 feet 11 inches and 217 pounds, Peppers brings veteran presence and leadership. Last season alone, he notched 20 solo tackles, 20 assists, 1 forced fumble, and 2 passes defended. The Lions already signed a safety this offseason, but adding another proven player at that position could give the team depth they don't currently have. Injuries happen, and when they do, it's the veterans who stabilize the defense. Plus, Peppers has history with Michigan fans. Drafted in the first round back in 2017, he's already a familiar name in the state. The question is cost. He wouldn't break the bank, and if Peppers wants a shot at a championship, Detroit could be the perfect fit. That's the kind of rumor that makes you wonder, should the Lions pull the trigger on a low-cost, high-upside veteran who knows what it takes to play at a high level? It's not guaranteed, but it's definitely intriguing. So let's leave it here for now, because this is just the first half of what's brewing in Detroit. From franchise value climbing to the emergence of Tyreek Williams, from a blockbuster trade rumor involving Trayvon Walker to the possibility of Jabril Peppers joining the roster, this is not the same old Lions. This is a team positioning itself to strike. But I want to know what you think. Would you risk the draft picks to land Trayvon Walker? Would you bring in Jabril Peppers for depth? And how excited are you about Tyreek Williams possibly becoming the next hidden gem on this defense? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because the second half of this story is only getting bigger. And just when you thought the Lions storyline couldn't get any juicier, the conversation shifts to one of the most intriguing rivalries in the league, the Bears versus the Lions. Heavy on Bears recently stirred the pot by suggesting that Chicago should make a serious move for veteran edge rusher Zadarius Smith. Now, on the surface, it looks like typical rumor mill chatter. But dig a little deeper and it exposes a bigger truth. Both the Lions and Bears are still wrestling with depth questions at edge defender. Think about it. Detroit's pass rush looks strong at the top with names like Aiden Hutchinson and Marcus Davenport, but what's the real concern? Health. Davenport has flashed when he's on the field, but his durability has been questioned for years. Hutchinson is an emerging superstar, but he can't do it alone. Al-Quadin Muhammad provides depth, yet there's still an underlying fear. What if injuries hit? That's where Smith's name becomes so enticing. At his best, he's a Pro Bowl-level disruptor who could serve as the perfect insurance policy behind Hutchinson and Davenport. The idea of Smith wearing Honolulu blue is exciting because it answers the what-if questions Lions fans have been asking.